From rock bottom to spiritual heights, Joe Rivera's life altering belief transformation. Join us for an inspiring sit down with Joe Rivera, a life coach and motivational speaker whose journey is miraculous. Once a high earner in the financial sector, Joe faced the darkest times of his life due to addiction, losing everything he had worked for. But his story didn't end there. In this exclusive interview, Joe opens up about the transformative power of change, changing one's beliefs, and how spirituality has been the cornerstone of his incredible comeback. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show, where you're about to go on a wellness driven ride. Let me share a little bit about the incredible guests that we have on the show here today. Joe Rivera, a life coach and motivational speaker with a past marked by earning seven figures, followed by a fall into substance abuse, has turned his life around through spirituality and sobriety. Leveraging his personal comeback story, Joe now guides top professionals to achieve productivity and fulfillment, advocating for resilience and a drug-free life of empowerment. His mission is to inspire others nationwide with his transformative journey from rock bottom back to the top, fueled by faith and a new-found purpose. I am so excited to help welcome to our stage Mr. Joe Rivera. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here, man. Blessed another day.
Yes. Well, I am so excited to share your journey. I've had the utmost pleasure of seeing you speak on stage and hearing it and being very moved and inspired by it personally. Now, let's start by sharing, outside of that biography, a little bit more about you so the audience can get to know you more.
Sure. So, I went from Park Avenue to Park Bench. I lost everything. I even almost lost my life. I had my dream job in the financial industry as a stockbroker. In the early 2000s, I'm 25 years old, making seven figures a year. I should feel like I'm on top of the world at this point. But seven figures a year, that ain't good enough. I want more. I want 8 figures or 9 figures. And at this point in my life, being spiritually bankrupt, money was the only higher power that I knew. I was willing to do whatever it takes to make more money. I was putting in late nights one night at the office, and this dude we called Johnny Connect. We called him that because he had the connections to get his hands on anything you could imagine. Keep in mind, we're in New York, so this dude swore he's part of the mafia. He sits down at my desk and he says, "Hey, Joe, you think you're a top producer now? Take this little round pill and forget about it. You're going to produce even more." Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, Wall Street is also known as Drug Street. Everyone's doing some kind of drug. I was already smoking weed, drinking, or having some kind of mind-altering substance in my body every single day for the past 10 years at this point. So I said, why not? And that's when I got introduced to opiates. And that's when my battle with substance abuse took off to the next level. My life went dark and became completely unmanageable. I was risking my life every single day. I overdosed twice. The last time, It took 6 cans of Narcan to bring me back to life.
Oh my gosh, 6?
6 freaking cans of Narcan.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, coming from the first responding field, that's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, 6 cans. I'm technically not supposed to be here. And then that same
Right.
night, I'm laying in the hospital bed. I wake up. I pull the EKG electrodes off my body. Leave the hospital against medical advice. And then when I get outside, it's the middle of winter. I'm in a hospital gown and I'm shivering, looking like a crackhead, like Pookie from New Jack City, because of all the opiates that were taken out of my system. And the first thing that I do, I go call the dealer again to go get high. Man, and a week or two later, my sister invited me for an event. And at that event, I don't remember exactly what it was, but something clicked. I looked at my sister, she looked at me, and we both started crying. She knew exactly what I was going to say. And then the words came out. The words my family was waiting to hear for over a decade. I said, I don't want to do this anymore, sis. I'm a shell of my true self. I'm tired of writing my obituary. I want to begin creating my legacy.
Mm.
And after
That's a very profound statement when you mean it, right?
yeah.
And you meant it.
Making that change. And after that, I made the decision to achieve sobriety, and after achieving sobriety, I was able to build another 7-figure pre-IPO marketing company. And even though I was crushing it and living this incredible life, April, something was missing.
Something was missing after that. So you got sober, you cleaned up, you got back on top, and we're excelling in business again. But there still was something missing.
Something was missing, and God kept nudging at me and pulling at me and telling me that journey's not complete, that I had more to accomplish in life. And that's when I said, you know what, enough's enough. I'm not going to argue with the man upstairs. I mean, he saved my life. What audacity do I have to actually have an argument there? And that's
so tell me, what kind of you said nudges. What were you seeing? What was happening?
Yeah, so throughout this journey of recovery, when I was out there getting high, after I lost my mom, my life went dark and completely blacked out. Life became unmanageable, and I was born and raised Catholic, but I lost my way along the way. I thought the only type of relationship with God, I had no idea what that even existed. I thought it was just saying Our Father, Hail Mary, and asking for forgiveness only when necessary. But through this journey, I've been able to build a relationship where today God's my father, my mother, my uncle, my best friend, my everything. And when I put that spirituality first, man, the doors that open, the mountains get moved. And through building that relationship, I've started to learn to be able to sit with myself and pay attention. And I believe, right, that when you have that relationship with the higher source, you call it God, the infinite intelligence, the universe, whatever someone believes, right? But when you really dive in and start building that relationship and start paying attention and listening and feeling, you could listen and hear the voice. And you could also feel the nudges. You feel it. You feel when you're going in a direction that's not aligned with God, right? Or whatever your higher source is, you feel that alignment is off, or you feel when it's really on point and where it's something that you should continue to follow, so really being able to learn to pay attention to those nudges and those feelings is, what got me to realize that he kept telling me, it's bigger than the money. He's like, son, I didn't save your life for you to just go back and make 7 figures again. If you don't share what I've given you, this blessing, you're being selfish. You're such a selfless person. Like, how could you be selfish and hold your story? And your story doesn't belong to you, son. You got to go out and share it with the world. And that's when I said, you know what, enough's enough. And that's when I decided to build my speaking and coaching platform. And man, let me tell you, there's no drug, no alcohol will ever give me that euphoric feeling that I get when I'm able to empower someone to transform their life. That's the gift that keeps on giving to me. That's where I was able to find my purpose.
Now, Joe, when you talk about how you were being nudged to share the story, share the journey to inspire others, did synchronicities start to come into play? Like, what guided you to step on a stage? Did you start to have people request you to recommend you share your story? How did that happen for you? Because initially, I was very drawn to you because of the spiritual aspect. We're concentrating a lot on that this year on the Wellness Driven Life Show to talk about how that plays into everyone's life. I mean, it's such a massive piece of us, and no denying, because otherwise it's like saying that you don't have skin, right? We are spiritual, energetic beings. And it's when we're not acknowledging that and tuning into that, that things fall apart. Like, we're susceptible to not caring, going into anything that is altering this perception of reality, because we want to escape the feelings of lack and dislove and all of those things. So I'm just curious, when you started acknowledging and understanding the spiritual side of yourself and being guided to share it with the world, which I believe more and more people are at a very rapid pace at this incredible time in history. But what was that like for you? What things started happening in life to bring that to you as a reality?
So it started off as a thing where I was giving back to communities that also struggled with substance abuse, and going and speaking at a rehab, or going and speaking at a jail, or and being able to see how people would get lifted off their feet, from hearing the my experience. And that was like one of the first signs. And then when I would go, people would be like, Joe, can you come back and speak for this, or can you come back? And I'm like, wow, and God's like, I told you, you got a gift. You can't just not share that gift. He's like, but it's on a bigger scale. It's on a bigger stage than just going to rehabs, going to a jail. It's going to be a bigger stage. I got bigger plans for you. And I just kept following and pursuing, and following trusting his process, which, sometimes it's like, I'm human, right? So I want to take my will back all the time, right? I don't want to continue. I don't want to just give the will over and be like, all right, it's your show, not mine. But throughout the journey and throughout my time, I've learned it is his show, and I'm just. I work with the tools and the gifts that he's blessed me with.
Joe, did you have somebody inspire you? I mean, do you recall was there a moment, a turning point? I know that you went to family and you said you just made a decision. You said, I'm done doing this. And you made the decision. But was there something that inspired you initially previous to that, where you maybe heard someone else's story, or you remembered someone else's story of getting through such difficult times similar to yourself?
I mean, I think that a lot of that, it didn't click right away, April, to be inspired by someone else that did it. It didn't click until I got into a rehab and went to go get help. And then I realized So I was in this rehab. I get there and it's 180 dudes when we get there. My sister brings me. I'm like, sis, there's no way I'm staying in a rehab with all men, no women. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. She's like, just give it a shot. Just stay for a couple of weeks, see how it works out. And I was like, all right, I'll stay. And keep in mind, it was a long-term treatment. It was 3 months. I said, there's no way I'm staying here for 3 months. I'll stay for 30 days and then I'm leaving. And when I got there, I was an absolute mess. I mean, I'm getting into arguments. I got into a fight in the kitchen the first week. The lady in the kitchen ended up kicking me out of the kitchen, telling me I'm not allowed back. I was like, how am I going to eat if I'm not allowed back? So they sent me to a place. It was like detention, right? But it was called A&B, Attitude and Behaviors. And at that point is where it all started to click. And I realized that, damn, putting the drugs and alcohol down was the easy part. Changing my mindset is where the work is. That's what has to change. It ain't the drugs and alcohol. I'm the problem. I got to change who I am. I got to peel that onion back and start doing the work. So then the inspiration started to kick in, and I ended up 30 days passed by, and I called my family and said, you know what, I'm going to stay for another month. And then I stayed the full time and I completed, And so the inspiration started to click in that place is where I started to get inspired and being able to see other people come in that completed and what their life looked like and how they had a life beyond their wildest dreams. And I'm like, shit, I could do that too. I could have a life beyond my wildest dreams. I could start doing that. And then that's when I started to realize the power of vision and started to visualize myself being sober, visualize myself having a better lifestyle, visualizing myself having this incredible relationship with God. And that's exactly, how it started to really come into fruition.
Well, that's incredible. What were some of the tactics and the tools that they shared with you and that they had you do initially to start getting into a better mindset, to start using visualization techniques? Were there books that they encouraged you to read? What was that like?
So, I mean, I've always kind of been connected to personal development, right? Watching videos and reading books and things like that. But I never applied a lot of the stuff I learned consciously. Some of it I would learn and apply it subconsciously, but really being conscious of it and knowing what it is that I'm applying, why I'm applying it, right, is what was kind of ingrained. And then also, I was in a 12-step program, and the 12-step program is a spiritual program, and it's personal development, right? That's where it comes from. So practicing that every day and realizing how repetition is the mother of skill taught me a lot towards, my practices that I practice today, right? Because those 12 steps weren't something that, I did one time. It became my principles of life to keep me, going and staying sober and utilizing that and shifting it over into my everyday life, into other aspects. Is what's helped me.
There are so many people who have gone to incredible lengths and achievements in life that really give testament to the 12 steps. And of course, many people know that it's branched out into numerous different buckets of life and implementing the similar 12-step techniques. So it doesn't surprise me that is really something that motivated you, encouraged you to pull out. So we'll move into our commercial. And when we get back, Joe, I would love to hear and learn how you implement that on stage and how you guide others through similar things. Stay tuned. Are you ready to take control of your ride to wellness? Rev up with Driven Living. Visit www.drivenliving.com and buckle up for a journey. Get exclusive access to our wellness-driven life show guest portal, where you can dive deep into the minds of our esteemed guests. Sign up for our newsletter and get insider scoops on these distinguished personalities. It's like having a backstage pass to their life-changing wisdom. But that's not all. You'll also receive a free hug. You heard me right, a free hug. An enlightening ebook from the Driven Living team. Discover the science-backed benefits of hugging yourself. It's a fill-up for your wellness tank. Because at Driven Living, we believe in fueling your journey to wellness, both physically and psychologically. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.drivenliving.com today. Welcome back, everyone. Here with Joe Rivera. Joe, you have such an incredible story. Just meeting death's edge right there, and really having this massive wake-up call. But it didn't even hit then. It took a little bit to get out of this. And I think that is a similar story to many people, where it takes a while, right? And like you mentioned, it's these nudges from God. It's them, or something coming into life where it's this consistency of wake up, wake up, wake up. And then finally you start to get it, and things start to be understood. And so this is a beautiful journey that you've experienced, where now you get to share this with others and enlighten others to take some practical steps and movements to creating a better, more fulfilling life for themselves. So walk me through this a little bit, where you initially started that. You started stepping on stage, speaking with groups of people. What were some of the things that you were seeing from that? Who were some people that you began to inspire, and you started to see some transformations from the work that you did?
Yeah, so I started to see that a lot of the people that I inspired were people who came from a similar world that I did, right? People who, the people that I help are business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs who rely on their performance to create their income, because there's a lot of overwhelm there. There's a lot of lack of direction. In those high commission the sales jobs, there's that stress that kicks in. People turn to other vices. And listen, my thing was drugs and alcohol. Someone else might be gambling, sex, shopping, overeating, whatever that vice is. It interferes with us being our true self by having us isolate, not being fully present. It creates character defects. For some, life may become unmanageable. They may lack direction. Some people lose motivation and their self-esteem. But that's not a way to live life. There's another way to live life. I believe living in purpose closes the gap between spirituality and true wealth. And there's people out there that have this misconception that you can't have spirituality and wealth at the same time. Man, is that a bunch of you know what, man? But it really is, because the more spirituality you have in your life, the more abundance you have in your life. And spirituality isn't just, listen, I believe the most important piece to spirituality is having a connection with that higher source. Again, I call it God. Someone else might call it the infinite intelligence, the universe, whatever they believe, right? And being able to connect to that higher source and know that higher source brings you to unlocking your fullest potential is a huge component of spirituality. But spirituality is also about walking and living in your purpose. And when you're not aligned with all that, there's something missing. We've seen it for so many different times. Right? People have all this money in the world, and then there's something missing. There's an emptiness there. Robin Williams took his life. Michael Jackson took his life. Elvis Presley took his life. I mean, the list goes on, and that's just the celebrity side. What about the billionaires out there who do it on a daily basis that we don't hear about or read in the paper? I mean, it happens every day because there's an emptiness there. And when you have that emptiness, you can't live a fulfilled life.
Joe, what I appreciate about your story is, when we look back at life and we see the things that we've done, the careers we've gone into, the experiences that we've had, all the emotional turmoil, etc. And when we start to see things in a different light or step into and connect with that spiritual side of ourselves, we have an understanding of now who can we influence. And it's like looking in the mirror, right? It's people who have and are, living a life with similar experiences. And we're also so much the same that way. And when we talk about people who go into extreme wealth, and they're very disconnected, spiritually or in other aspects of life, they do turn to those vices. And I learned that early on in law enforcement. In fact, that was taught in the academy, to understand that you're going to be going through extreme highs and extreme lows. And I think that that's similar when it comes to wealth, when you feel on top of the world, when your ego is just skyrocketing, right? And you're going through these extreme highs, lights and sirens. You're living it up. You're at the top of the skyscraper. You're surrounded by, all this wealth and beautiful people. And then there's the lows where you're alone, when nothing's happening, there's no excitement. And so because of that, that's when the vices want to step into, and either you're attracted to, like you said, it's sex, drugs, alcohol. It's all of those things that we turn to in order to attempt to manage that and create balance. But it's quite the opposite. So, Joe, when you talk about connection to the spiritual side, to God, how do you do that on a daily basis?
So there's so many times throughout my day that I take out to connect. I mean, first off, gratitude is a way to connect, and my gratitude's through the roof. I mean, there's so much to be grateful for. I started off as like 1 to 3 minutes a day for gratitude in the morning, first thing when I wake up through my prayer meditation. And now today, there's days where it lasts 45 minutes, an hour, because I got so much I'm grateful for. I add to the list every day, and putting that gratitude and that connection first, man, what a powerful shift. There's no better way, in my opinion, to start the day. So, starting my day off is one way that I connect. And throughout the day, I take time out. And I mean, I have a relationship, like I said, now where it's, God's my father, my mother, my uncle, my everything. And I take time out throughout the day and talk to him just like that, like I would to my mom, or like I do to my brother, or like I do to my father, and man, it's such a blessing, to really have that relationship in the forefront like that. There's nothing more powerful in my life.
That's incredible. I like how you talk about bringing it in throughout the day, all day long, and really quieting yourself. I think that is one of the biggest challenges for people who are just starting out with that. I mean, we live in such a intense, high anxiety life, and common thing where people say, no, we're not being chased by the lion, and yet we create this extreme intense vibration throughout life to create anxiety, to where we're operating at that level, which is not how our human body is designed. We're not supposed to be operating at that level all the time. So when we go within and we sit with ourselves and we can quiet the mind and the body long enough, that's where you really start to tap into your greater self. And so you also mentioned gratitude. I also really appreciate how you said I started with like 3 minutes and then I worked myself way up. Now I go 45 minutes long sometimes, but it's those little steps that you're showing our audience here today that you just start is really where that's the beginning, right? You just have to start somewhere, and it's okay to just have a minute here and there and then work your way up to being quiet with yourself in order to tap in. Joe, I'm very curious to know what changes have you seen? So you've had great wealth on both ends, right? Where you've included spirituality in life with great wealth, and where you've discluded it. So what are the major shifts, changes, feelings that you have experienced? What are the major contrasts that you notice?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I don't mean to keep beating a horse over the head with it, but my spiritual, from being spiritually bankrupt to spiritually wealthy is number one, without a doubt. That change has been incredible. The change in the overall mindset and learning who I really am, learning, that I'm not ashamed of my past. My past doesn't define me. As a matter
That's
of
very
fact,
important.
yeah, as a matter of fact, my past is what made me who I am today, right? So, um, also learning that failure is part of success. Not being afraid to fail is a huge change, right? And also learning that it don't gotta be perfect. It's never gonna be perfect. There's no perfect time to start. You're not going to do something completely perfect. There's not going to be a perfect line to success all the way up to the top. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. There's going to be bumps in the road. It's going to get messed up. Being able to learn to navigate through those bumps is where the success is. Because without being able to navigate through that, you're not going to be successful. So really learning to take accountability too of my actions and being responsible for them is something that I've learned along the journey, and that has changed. Right? I used to play the blame game. I used to blame everybody else and all the other situations around me to why I was the way I was. When all I had to do was look in the mirror and point to myself. I had to take responsibility to make that change, right? And realizing that I'm a spiritual being living a human experience, and I could do anything I put my mind to, as long as I stay focused, do the work, and don't play that blame game, and stay aligned. Man, I mean, the doors that open and the mountains that get moved is just truly a blessing.
Joe, that being said, knowing that the sky's the limit, what are you most excited about creating in life?
Impact around the world. I'm most excited about being able to help someone transform their life. To me, that it don't get there's nothing better than that. It's just that's what it's about, you know. That's what I'm excited about, is the impact that I'm going to be able to create and the legacy that I'm going to leave behind.
What's the biggest thing you have going on right now that you're most excited about as well? Do you have big stages that you're going on? Are you writing a book?
So, I mean, the stages are there. I mean, I got a stage in another couple of months coming up. I can't speak on a couple of them because I'm finalizing some details, but there's some big things going on with Joe Rivera and Reforge Academy, man. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about unrolling a new part of my coaching program. Stay tuned for that. That's coming soon, but Reforge Academy is going to help change people's lives.
Oh, that is exciting. So I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you so they can see and know where you're going to be speaking next. I know that you have an incredible exposure on social media. You are always producing. Anytime I go on Instagram, there you are. And so I love all of the insight and the wisdom that you give the audience. You really inspire and motivate a lot of people that way. So I want to make sure, again, everyone knows where to find you. We've had it displayed here on the screen for those of you viewing. And for those of you listening in, www.withjoerivera.com. That's also in the description below. Joe, thank you so much for sharing your story with our audience today. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Just on the note that we just spoke about, like that perfection part, there's no perfect time to start walking and living in your purpose and going on that journey that you're meant to go on. Don't procrastinate and wait for that perfect time, because it doesn't exist. And remember, procrastination is the grave in which opportunity is buried. I'm going to say that one more time. Procrastination is the grave in which opportunity is buried. Take action today on your dream.
That's a really great saying. Wow. Write that down, everyone, because that is no joke. That is incredible. I remember and I can't remember the author, but there was a section in a book that was written where any idea that comes, like, and I like to call it our intuition, right? If we get this incredible idea, say we're in meditation and you get this download, a lot of people will call it that way, or just intuition and some idea that is really cool, inspiring. And if you don't act on that, then that energy is going to just go on to somebody else, because it's supposed to be birthed into the world. And if you don't act first, then it will no longer be yours. And so I think that that's a really nice thing to add on to your grave and procrastination, because that's, that's where it goes. It just goes away. Yes. So thank you again, Joe, for being our guest on the Wellness Driven Life Show. And thank you so much for our audience for being here. Without you, the show wouldn't be possible. So goodbye for now, and we will see you next time.